one of the things is as my institution works through GDPR compliance, we have a GDPR implementation team. The team is comprised of many different individuals from across the campus. And one of the most important groups to include on that team is our representatives of the research component. And it'll look different on your campuses, but you definitely need someone there who can speak to some of those issues as you try to think about how to map out meeting the requirements of GDPR. And in this particular research contest, it really it takes a lot to really gain an understanding of the quantity and the scope of the research that's happening on your campus. This really requires an in-depth look at your data pools and collaborations to understand with your IRBs and perhaps some of your contract processing units to understand what are we looking at in terms of the number of people who might be engaging in research that's covered under GDPR. We've also really taken a long look at our process for how we approve our research protocols. How do we build in safeguards there to, first of all, find out if the research is being impacted by GDPR, and if it is, making sure we hit certain benchmarks that are compliant with GDPR. Working with your IRB members to create templates for consent, very helpful and very important. I will list for you, when you're thinking about a template for consent, it's pretty in-depth on the research side. It includes, making sure they know the identity of the principal investigator, the purpose of the data collection, making sure you identify the data that's going to be collected, including if there are any special categories. This is where you have to point out the right to withdraw from the research and how they do it. You have to point out who's going to have access to the data, how long the data can be stored. And under research, it could be indefinitely, and that's fine. There's just ways you need to go about providing the right documentation for that. You also have to have information about the data security controls that you're using and whether and under what conditions the data that you're going to collect might be used for future research that is either related or unrelated to the current study. Either way, you really just have to make sure that these templates are highlighting and telling people what the risks are, how their data is going to be safeguarded, and what their rights are. So you also need to think about how you're going to archive and the information, and working with your information technology staff to figure out what are the most appropriate ways to store and to keep things secure. And then I think as a whole, this is really important to work with your administration and even your university communications folks. I've sort of been a theme of mine is an institution, a compliance program won't work if no one knows about it. So creating awareness and building informational strategies to get it in the hands of the right people so they know what to do, or at least know if there's an issue who to call, that starts to get us headed in the right direction.